We're just gonna, if everybody can agree to the recording in progress. Just a couple housekeeping issues. Don't forget, I really want to see our, I don't want to call them free guests, but I want to see your guests on the calls. Everybody here has the opportunity to change a life of somebody 21 and under. And just as a reminder, you know, Rod and I started this because we felt like that there was a sense of hopelessness around the country, a lot of suicide and depression around the country. And oftentimes, well, at least I feel and Rod feels that the only way to overcome some of that is to give people alternatives, right? Let's show people that there's alternatives out there. There's opportunities to go beyond where they're at. So it's really important. If you've got somebody that you want to sponsor to be in the syndicate, please get those memberships off. Clay, I was really hoping to see Reese back. So maybe you can reach out to Reese and hammer on her to get back on. I know my guest has been on vacation the last 2 weeks out of town and camping. So I expect him to be on as soon as he gets back. Also, don't forget, there's already an accumulation of past videos and content. If if you're trying to put your story together, your business plan or your story, go back and watch those videos. And one thing that Rachel's done is she's categorized the videos now so that you can find much easier what you're looking for under the topics and the core values, the dates and things like that. So there's a lot of value there within those videos. I know new members like Raquel's like, where do I start? Well, you can really start anywhere. They're not time-stamped for the purpose of being in order. They're time-stamped so in case you're looking for something, you know when it was. But really, all these lessons put together are a culmination of ultimately what your business is going to be, or who you're going to be, or where you want to go. And tonight is the perfect topic when you think about a culmination of things, right? And so tonight's topic is confidence. So, and just before I move into confidence, beyond the videos, there's also some tools in the back end, which are in the form of documents. And matter of fact, I think I'm going to take tonight's topic and put it into a document. That way you've got something to refer back to. That might take me a couple of weeks, but I definitely want to put that on the plan so you can go back to it. All right, it's become a thing for me now, so I might as well read my Andy Frisella quote. And I love this one. I was actually in horror after reading this. Maybe you will be after you hear me say it. So it says, "You have the time" is the topic of his blog. This was June 25th, a couple days ago. It says, "Did you know that the average person spends 2 hours and 27 minutes on social media every single day? That's equivalent to over 37 days a year wasted." I want you to take it in for a second and ask yourself this: do you really not have enough time to do the shit that will take you forward in life? Or are your goals not really your goals? Deep down, you know the truth. If you really wanted the shit you say you want, you'd make the time. So here's my advice: adjust how you spend your time, because time is going to pass either way. I love that, because we do, man. We waste some time, and if we're wasting it, we're not getting it done. Jim, you got your hand raised. You got a question?
Yeah. In regards to the videos on the website, I was at the gym the other day and was trying to get to the website and log in to be able to listen to the session I missed last week, and I'm not able to get to it. I tried through the regular Safari browser and through Chrome. And when you tap on the menu, the hamburger menu at the top, the screen goes black.
Okay.
So I don't know if somebody can look into that. But
Absolutely.
you're not able to get to the videos through mobile.
Absolutely. Okay, through mobile. That might make a difference, because I was just looking at the website and they were all there. I didn't push play. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. I gave Russell a chance to slide in today too. Hey, Russell. Okay, so heard this a little while ago today, and it says, north is north. Whether you're in the middle of a hurricane, you're still headed north is still north. If it's a calm day, north is north. If you're in a thunderstorm, north is still north. if somebody's yelling at you, north is still going to be north. It just doesn't change, right? And I like that because that's something Clarence Thomas said earlier today. I like it because when you're looking at your goals and, you know, the second he said north is north, I thought, oh, your true north, who you are, what your goals are. North is always going to be north. Well, I know why he was talking about it, but I akin it also to my own goals and the direction that I'm taking myself based on the values. We talked about values earlier on in the Y.E.S Syndicate a month ago. And those values are my north, right? So north is always north. And thank you, Clarence Thomas, for saying that. All right. So tonight's lesson is on confidence. And like I mentioned a minute ago, that I love the history that we already have in the content that we've gone through, because it's all these things that are going to come together and help build your confidence in what you're doing. I'm going to give some examples, some of my own personal examples. My wife and I absolutely loved Spartan racing. And we were at the competitive level for a couple of years and did very well in the series. But before that, we sucked. Matter of fact, we were so bad, the first race when we went out, I can't remember where it was. I think it was Southern California Spartan race. And one of the things when you don't race competitively, you can help each other on the obstacles, right? So literally there's some like monkey bars and then some rings that you go across, and neither one of us could do it. And literally I was hoisting my wife up as she pretended to go across the rings. And then we'd run back to the beginning, then I would do it, you know, and we were starting to acquire a little bit of skill, but we didn't have the confidence in ourselves to do the job. Well, as we progressed into a competitive level, we got good at a lot of the obstacles and we got faster in our running. But there was still some obstacles that we didn't know how to do. And I was watching some Spartan videos on how to do some of the obstacles. And there's a thing called the twister, and it's basically a straight bar with handles on it. And as you go across it, it spins. And then you get to a cross beam, you got to go under that, and then you go to another twister, and then another cross beam and another twister. And it's about, the whole thing's about 30 feet long. And you hang from that and you try to get to the next one as it's spinning. Nearly impossible if you don't have the technique. And I watched a video, and the guy on the video says, hey, one way you can approach this particular obstacle is to turn around and do it backwards instead of forwards, because naturally when you pull, it comes down and it's right in your hand's reach. And the next race that I went to, I thought, I'm going to try that. And I was doing pretty well that race. I think I was running in third. I got up to the obstacle. I said, I'm going to try that. And I jumped on it and I tried it and it worked. First time in 6 races, I actually got that obstacle done because somebody gave me a tip, right? Hold that thought for a second. Another story. I'm not a big fan of golf. Matter of fact, I don't like golf much at all. But years ago, my brother told me that in business, it's always good to golf with, you know, people that you work with and get to know them out on the course. And, you know, I think the fact is that I didn't like golf because I wasn't very good at it. It was kind of like that obstacle. I'd go out there and I'd just hack it up, and it was embarrassing for me. And a lot of my golf friends that I spent a lot of work time with, at one point in my career, they absolutely hated me because I was the official sponsor through Kettle One Vodka, the company I worked for, of the PGA Tour, which meant I got to go to all the best golf events. I got to meet all the top golfers like Arnold Palmer and all these wonderful people and spend time with them, even though I didn't golf. And finally, I was at the Westin Kierland in Arizona, nice place. We were there for an event, and I was with a pro golfer by the name of Scotty McCarron. And Scott was one of those top 20 players of the PGA. And he says, hey, Jim, let's go out and golf. It's just you and me right now. I said, Scott, you know I don't like golf. He goes, no, I'm going to show you how to golf today. And what Scott showed me how to do, and I'm sorry if you're not a golfer and this is over your head like it was over mine, what Scott showed me how to do was on my drive, which is the first hit towards the hole. It's usually your longest hit, should be your longest hit. He showed me to do a half swing. And he goes, look, Jim, he goes, it's not pretty. It's not what everybody else is probably doing. But if you did a half swing, it reduces your chances of hitting a bad ball. And if you can hit a half swing 100 yards every single time consistently, eventually you'll play decent golf, or decent enough to have the confidence and go out with your friends. So what do these two stories have in common? What they have in common is a little tool that I put in my tool chest of doing things. So Scott's little half swing tool gave me the ability to have confidence and go play golf with other executives that were much better than I am and could play. That little tool allowed me to avoid that embarrassment of not knowing how to play golf at all, or not feeling like I was good enough. That little tool in the Spartan Twister races allowed me to get across an obstacle a little bit faster and win more often because I took the time to add something to my toolbox that gave me confidence. And so I want you to think about that. Is there's a lot of things in our own lives and in our world that we lack the confidence in, whereas one small tool that you can throw in your tool chest will give you the confidence to either get over that hump or to do that activity, maybe which you've been avoiding, that could change the direction of maybe your career, your personal life, overcome an obstacle that you've been trying to get through. So look for the opportunities to add a little tool to your war chest. Okay. All right. So what is confidence? Why are we attracted to confidence? Well, confidence and why we're attracted to confidence is because many people lack self-esteem. So they're intrigued by those people that have confidence and they want to be around them because, you know, it rubs off, right? Or in my opinion, I think that oftentimes people that lack confidence, they gravitate towards others are just a little bit lazy because they're afraid to put in the work. It's a little bit of that extra effort to put in the work and build your confidence in a particular subject. It reminded me of an activity I did yesterday. If Zane was here on the call, he'd appreciate this. Last year, my neighbor took me out to learn how to shoot a bow and arrow, right? I was going to say bow hunt, but I'm not really a hunter yet. So he took me out to learn how to shoot a bow. And the bows have different amounts of pressure on it. And the particular one we had was his, and it had 60 pounds of pressure. I couldn't even pull it back. Literally did not have the strength or the knowledge how to pull it back. So he started working with me and got me to a point where I could pull it back, and I built my strength. I built my concept of doing it. I actually went out and bought a bow, and I started to work on my ability to shoot this bow. Now, yesterday I went out with him after a year, and yes, I've been practicing. It was something that I was interested in getting better. And I went out with him to shoot at the local archery park, and I knew that I'd been practicing, and I knew that he would see the difference in me because I put in the work. And that goes back to me saying, let's not be lazy. Let's put in the work. And the cool part about it is when I saw him later on in the evening after we went out and we hit a bunch of targets, and we both shot in the same area of the target. He came back later and says, Jim, I was bragging to Kyle about you. And I said, about what? He goes, about how well your bow hunting or shots became over last year. He goes, I'm surprised at how good you've gotten. And the only reason why I've gotten good is because I've practiced. I didn't rely on him teaching me all the time. And I got out of my laziness and started doing the work. So having confidence requires doing the work. I want to jump into 10 items that people that have confidence display or have. And as I'm talking about this, I want you to think in your own mind, which one of these do I have? Which one of these can I be better at? Which one of these can I work on? And which ones have I never even heard before, right? So number one is people with confidence display composure. And that's one of the things that I was displaying yesterday as I went out to shoot my bow at these targets. As I walked up to the target with affirmation that, hey, I can do this. I knew in my mind I had the confidence to shoot that target well because I've done the work. And what's interesting about displaying composure is the composure doesn't always come without pain, because to do the work, oftentimes, especially if you're in the fitness world, it requires pain and energy to get to the level that you want to be at. So just because somebody's able to display composure does not mean that it didn't incur some pain to get there. So as you're going through the process of building your confidence and you're feeling those pain points, that's natural. That's part of the growth. And you'll look back and I go, thank God I endured that, because what you endured is going to build that confidence. Point number 2 about people with confidence is they're not easily offended. Really, because you know your worth, you know what you're capable of, you know who you are. You've built that tool chest of things. You talk about the values that we've learned before and all these other lessons. You've put together things that gave you the confidence, and you're not easily offended because you know your worth. And that brings a lot of value, especially in the business equation, when you're trying to get a job or trying to get a client or trying to raise money, is that, somebody might come to you and say, oh, I think that's a terrible business idea. Well, guess what? I don't, because I know my worth. I know the work I put into it. That doesn't offend me. That's your opinion, but I know what I've gone through to get here. Number 3, people with confidence speak with authority because they know the topic, they've put in the work, and they understand what it took to get there. They've built the pieces to be where they're at. I always like to think about when somebody's given a speech, I'm always looking to see if they're reading notes or if they're going to read the whole speech. Are they going to do it for memory? How well do they know the topic? And I often think about when somebody's giving a eulogy or a toast, the best man's going to get up there and give his toast, and they read the notes. They read like they're reading a book or a paragraph. And I'm almost embarrassed for that person, because in my mind, I'm thinking, gosh, if this is your best friend, don't you know him well enough to not have to read the notes? So with that being said, I'm encouraging you to understand your topic and speak with authority, because if you really know it, and you don't have to say it word for word about how you're feeling it in your head or maybe how you wrote it down on a paper earlier in the day, but if you say it with authority, it will convey your message so much better to the listener or the audience. If I could give that best man speech without reading a note card and fumbling over words that I might not normally use in everyday language, that speech is going to be so much better when I say it from the heart and use the words that come to mind as I'm giving it. So again, confidence, people that are confident speak with authority. Number 4, people with confidence, they celebrate others. Don't be afraid to celebrate others and the job well done, or who they are, or what they're trying to accomplish, because you'll find if you can rally around them, right, you're going to bolster them up, which again will help build up your confidence. But it also shows, as you celebrate others, that we know our place. It was wonderful that my neighbor gave me the compliment about shooting my bow and arrow yesterday, because he's pretty much an expert at it. He's been doing it the last 20 years. He's had a lot of successful hunts, and he knew his place and I knew my place. But to get the affirmation from him that I was doing well, I thought, wow, that means a lot coming from him. So imagine if you're somebody with confidence and you can celebrate others, what that will do for them. And that's lifting them up, encouraging them to do what they're doing. Love this one. Number 5, they are decisive. Make a decision. Go with it. Live with it. Understand why you made it. Go at it with confidence. In my book, if you read it, I give a brief story about why surfers are better CEOs. And I surfed most of my younger life, well, probably till I was in my mid 40s. And it was a big part of what I did. And oftentimes, if you know much about surfing, sometimes the waves are big and maybe bigger than I should be in, 15 footers out there. And if I crash and burn, anything could happen. I could die, I could break an arm, break my neck. And I say CEOs are surfers are better CEOs, because when you're just about ready to take off on that wave, and you can use your own metaphor for what you're going to take off on, but when you're getting ready to take off on that wave, you have to make a decision. Am I going to ride this wave? And if I do, am I going to crash and burn? Or am I going to be successful and have the ride of my life, or the ride of the day, or the biggest wave I've ever had, or get barreled down on the tube like you've seen in pictures and movies? And you have to make that split-second decision and live with it. So if I crash and burn, I have to live with that. What does that mean? Well, hopefully I'm not drowning in the whitewash. Hopefully I have the skill to get out of the water and get myself above and catch my next breath before the next wave comes crashing in on me. Or if I have the success, that I have the ability to celebrate that and know that I've accomplished something or I've taken myself to the next level. Well, if you apply that to your role as a CEO, if you're in the boardroom and we're struggling over a decision and you have the ability to be decisive and make a decision and live with it, maybe it's the wrong decision. Okay. Learn from your mistakes, make the decision, move on, shift gears, turn left, turn right, get beyond it. Or if you're decisive and it was the right decision, now you're moving forward at a more rapid rate. So people with confidence are decisive. You'll see in my life as you spend more time around me. I'm sure my wife Samantha will tell you, I'm very decisive about what I want to do, where I want to go, when I want to do it, unless it's what we're going to eat for dinner. And I don't know if anybody's decisive about that. Okay. People with confidence focus on their strengths. And I don't know where I learned this one, but I've been practicing it my entire life. Sometimes I get compliments from people that are like, Jim, everything you do, you're good at it. Why are you good at all these things? I'm not good at all these things. I focus on my strengths. Don't ask me to play around with baseball because I don't think I could even hit the ball. I can't throw a pitch probably straight, certainly probably not a home run pitch. And I can barely hit the ball when it's thrown at me at a fast ball. So I focus on what I'm good at. I'm good at Spartan racing. I'm good at running. I'm good at working out. I'm good at ranch life now because these are things that I like and I have strengths to do them. I'm terrible about baseball and basketball. So find what your strengths are and focus on your strengths and build off of those, right? Now, because I'm athletic, if baseball was something that I felt like I really needed to do, then I would use the foundation that I have in other sports and activities, the foundation that I've built, and then I would go after that stretch goal of playing baseball, even though I suck at it today. So far, I haven't had any reason to get better at baseball. Maybe when my kids get older, if they want to play ball, I'll have to learn how. Okay, number 7, take initiatives. You'll notice when you have somebody that's got confidence in the room, they'll take the initiative to get something done. They'll be the one raising their hand first going, hey, I see a way how to do this, right? Don't be afraid to take initiatives, all right? So number 8, maintain an open body posture. Simple, but yet effective, especially when you're in a room full of people. You know, don't stand in the back with your arms crossed and looking apprehensive about what you're doing. But instead, if you're in a boardroom or if you're around colleagues or if you're trying to pitch an investor on your business, you know, lean forward and be confident about what you're pitching and why and who you are and why you belong there. Body posture is important, especially when you're in a setting to make a difference within your objective, right? So this is really important, especially like in interviews or meeting somebody that will be of importance to what you're trying to accomplish, or conveying your message is your body posture. And I know we've talked about grooming on here once in a while, and it's just another one of those things. By the way, remember grooming, don't wear something that's distracting because I won't be able to get past the distraction. Notice I always clean my office up behind me so you're not distracted. Okay. People with confidence are loving and humble. And that really kind of speaks back to don't be afraid to give compliments. Don't be afraid to care about others. And when you are confident about something, you know you're going to do well. So it's important to also be humble with what you're doing and who you are as that person, right? So be loving and humble. It never hurts to be those two things. You'll only be better for it. So, and by the way, if you're loving and humble in how you do things, your confidence won't be perceived as arrogance or ego, right? Be loving and humble. It's interesting because I've always felt like I was a loving and humble person. And when I was in the off-road racing circuit, and I was fortunate enough to have a successful team. We had posters where I'd sign autographs for the kids down in Mexico, and it was really a neat place to be in life. But what I didn't realize is that I got so focused on the job of running a team of 17 people and focused on, I've got to go win. I forgot to be loving and humble on a lot of occasions, and it came across as arrogant and egotistical until somebody brought it up to me. I thought, wow, what a waste that I was perceived as that. I could have been a different person had I known, if nobody had told me. So always think about being loving and humble in the things that you do and how you come across to others. Okay, and then the last of my bullet points is never stop learning. If you want to be confident and build that tool chest of confidence, just like I talked about with the Spartan racing and the twister or the golf, right? Learning something from Scott McCarron, never stop learning and being willing to learn, right? And that gives you an openness, obviously, of being loving and humble. You're ready to receive those learnings from others. Don't be afraid to pick up a book or take a recommendation from somebody so that you can continue to learn. Right now, I've got more books in front of me that I need to read and get ahead of, because I've had so many great guests on my podcast that I'm really looking forward to the time that I give myself to read. And that's something I can do more of, because I'm looking at all this great content going, I can't wait to learn more. Okay. So number 10 of my things that people with confidence exude. Not done though. So a little bit of homework for everybody on this confidence. First of all, let me give you a little tip, and maybe you do this, maybe you don't. And I did this with intent tonight. Something that I like to call confidence triggers. Find your confidence triggers. Now, what I did on purpose tonight is I wore my Y.E.S Syndicate shirt, which is an Andy Frisella, Ed Milet group that I was a member of. And then I've got my Keep Hammering Cameron Haynes hat on, which Cameron Haynes is not only an ultra marathoner, but he's probably the top bow hunter in the world and has more success hunting than probably any other bow hunting in the world. Now, why are these triggers? What do I mean by confidence triggers? Well, I can just throw on any old hat and go outside and practice my bow and think about what I'm doing there. But when I put on Cameron's hat, for me, that's a confidence trigger. I remember reading his book, Endure. I brought that up a couple lessons ago about Endure and what I learned from Cameron. And, I got to get in the mindset of, okay, what did Cameron talk about? What were the things that made him good at what he does, right? And all those things are going through my mind. I put my hat on like, wow, all right. This to me is a confidence trigger. I go out there, I got my hat on, I got my mind's in the right spot, and I start practicing my bow, right? Confidence trigger. I got my Y.E.S Syndicate shirt on. I was a member for a while and great people in there. I learned a lot from the lessons. I felt like I was a part of this elite group of individuals. I had to be interviewed or vetted before they'd let me in. I think Clay's wife's still involved in that. So when I put on this shirt, to me, it's a confidence trigger, right? I was accepted into something. I'm a person that others are willing to accept. And I'd venture to guess that we all have some confidence triggers somewhere in our life. So if you find yourself struggling or trying to change the zone that you're in, find some confidence triggers, put your hat on, your shirt on. Maybe it's a song, maybe it's reading a book, maybe it's meditation, but find some confidence triggers to help get you over those humps that you might have as it relates to building your confidence. So just a little side note, something that I do once in a while. Besides, it's a good hat, good, nice, soft t-shirt too. All right, so here's the homework. I've got 3 points here. I want you to start thinking about your questions. Rod, I'll open it up to you for comments when I get through them. Okay, the first thing I'd like you to do is write a list of things that you're good at. Okay, write a list of things that you're good at. And it's for obvious reasons, right? I want you to not only write that list, but write why are you good at those things. And the point of this is, I think oftentimes when you look at people that don't have confidence, as I mentioned earlier, they lack self-esteem. And if you could recognize the things that you're good at and why, you can build off of that as it relates to where you're going with your goals and your values and your visions, because you've already accomplished something. I know every single person in this room, to a certain level, to understand and know that each one of you are really good at something that I've seen, whether that's through your Instagram, through our conversations, through my observations of you on the video calls, you're all good at something. Start writing those down and why. That's the first part of your homework. The second thing is write down a list of things that give you confidence. Now that might be the same list or it might be a separate list, okay? Also write down why those give you confidence, okay? For me, as an example, I'm good at several things. As I mentioned, not baseball is not one of them. I have that list, but in my list of things that give me confidence, one that always comes to mind for me is when I have the ability to run 5 miles or more on any given day. If I can put on my shoes and leave the house and run 5 miles, that's something that gives me confidence, because I know if I wanted to enter a race, a Spartan race, that I have the ability to run a race. If I have to be healthy for my kids, I know that I've got a level of fitness that I'll be healthy for my kids. If I've got to walk around the farm all day, I know that I've got the ability to do that because I can run the 5 miles. So that's a basic example of something that gives me confidence and why. Okay. Find things that give you confidence and why. And then the last part of the homework is for you to apply those two principles into one and add that to your everyday life. Okay. So think about things that you're good at, things that give you confidence, bring those together and add those to your everyday life and the things that you're trying to accomplish, the who, the why, where you're going, whether this is an entrepreneurial endeavor or if you're in the corporate world and you just want to be better, or you want to present something to your superiors, or you want to go pitch a new client. Add those two items and let's start applying that every single day. Okay, that's my wrap on building confidence. And again, I love the topic because all the things that we've talked about so far in the Y.E.S Syndicate come together to help bring value to your level of confidence in what you're doing. And all the lessons that we're going to learn in the future come together to do the same, right? And ultimately, hopefully we see you achieving the things that you're setting out to achieve. And by the way, if we haven't said it enough, Rod and I are here for you to do that. So Rod, if you don't mind unmuting and putting your video back on, I'd love to hear some of your comments and suggestions.
Jim, thanks. I really appreciate that. And I needed a boost today myself. You know, there are these, you know, I'm not going to say biorhythms. Or number one, I'm tired. I had an incredibly busy weekend, almost a 1,200 mile drive and a funeral where I did do a eulogy without notes. I had them in my pocket because you never know when you get emotional what's going to happen. But I needed a boost today, and I was so looking forward to this call because I need it. I know when I know what my strengths are, but I also know where my limits are. And sometimes we just need to recharge. So I was looking forward to a recharge today, and you delivered. So that being said, two things stand out to me. Number one, you were talking about confident people are decisive. And that's something that we can practice. You know, it's not just that you get decisive once you have confidence. You need to practice doing these things in order to hone those skills. And this was something I don't know if it's a tag on to that or if I would add a new category. Maybe I'll add it as my tip for the night for you. This would be my number 11. Don't be afraid to stand alone. And that kind of gets back to when you're confident, you don't need other people's approval. And being okay with standing alone is also, I talked about this on my last session. And Brendan, you remember I said sometimes you don't need to apologize for your decision. You need to be an advocate for your decision. And that's part of that, not being afraid to stand alone. And I learned this in government, you know, in politics, being on city council, where I was one of 9 people. And there were times I stood absolutely alone, but I was an advocate for the reason I stood alone, and I was okay with that. And those times that I stood alone and said why I was standing alone. I also understood why they were doing what they were doing, why they were voting the way they did. But it meant enough to me to make a point and stand alone. And those were the things that garnered me more respect from all those other people, even people that didn't agree with me necessarily on other things. I earned their respect by being willing to stand up and not just fold and say, well, okay, I'm going to go along with you. So that's one of the things that helped build my confidence. I was confident enough then to do it. I was nervous, but you do those things to stretch. And it's that stretching, the pain point that you talked about, Jim, that gets us to grow. And secondly, the homework assignment, I think, is spot on. And while you were giving the assignment, I was already starting to do it. So I'm sitting here looking at it and thinking, oh my gosh, these things all help build, and you said it, your self-esteem. But here's my big takeaway. The things that give me confidence, on my number 2, I started, writing them out right away. My book, I'm a published author. I finished that task, and I left the workforce and accomplished that. And my wife supported me, and I'm not doing this alone. But all those things that give me confidence are also the things that I'm probably most grateful for. My family, that I get my confidence from my family. I can look at any one of my kids and grandkids and see what an incredible job I was able to do, even despite my own shortcomings and inabilities sometimes. But it's what I'm grateful for are also the things that give me confidence. And I think that's part of that. I know that you do this, Jim, 5 things you're grateful for every night before you go to bed, and write down 5 things you're grateful for every morning when you wake up. And that will boost your confidence. So that list should be so ingrained that you don't need to look at it. It should be in your heart. So I really needed the talk tonight. I've got great notes, great reference material. I'd like to hear what others have to say, because confidence isn't something we're born with. Survival is. Our need for approval and our need to survive. But confidence is something we do have to work at. And it doesn't always come easy.
Rod, I love the point you made about standing alone, right? This group is called the Young Entrepreneurs Syndicate. And so many entrepreneurs have to stand alone. And the reason why we stand alone is because we have passion for who we are and what we want to do in our project, right? And oftentimes we're standing alone because people don't have the same belief system that we have. They don't believe that they can do what we believe we can do, right? They don't have the business plan. And so standing alone is really a huge component of being an entrepreneur. Of course, on the other side of that is your success. And then you've got the crowd like, oh, I knew you could do it. I was there for you all along. And you're going, I don't remember that. I was alone in the dark for a long time, but what I love about standing alone and what that does for you is it helps take you to your own limits, right? It puts you out there, gets you a little bit uncomfortable, sometimes really uncomfortable. Maybe you take a big business loan out because you're passionate about your project. And all of a sudden, not only are you alone, but you are at your limit of comfort, of what you're as far as you want to go. But what that does is, as you discover your limits, it gives you one of the most powerful tools that you can ever have. And this is important to recognize, right? So you're standing alone, you're pushing your own limits, and all of a sudden you're capturing the most important tool you could ever get. And that's yourself, right? You're honing in on your skills. So the only person that you have to rely on is yourself to get out there and do what it is that you want to do, right? And this isn't just, this isn't motivational speech. This is reality. You want to be an entrepreneur? You want to make more money? You want to make a difference for your family? You want to set yourself apart from the norm or what you see others doing that you don't want to do or be a part of? It takes standing alone, pushing yourself to that limit to get what it is that you're seeking, right? Your goals, your values, your ambitions, pushing yourself to the limit, and then building that tool, which is you, to become that person to lead that ship. And that could be in anything. That could be you as a father or a mother or a business leader or a business owner, or it might just be you and your department at your company, right? But it takes you to get out there a little bit beyond the comfort zone. And by the way, in my opinion, every time I've gotten uncomfortable, it's paid off 10x or more. And you look back and it's like, thank goodness I did that, right? Thank goodness.
You're absolutely right. You know, the other thing too, I think, Jim, is that when we're looking at, you know, things that give us confidence, you know, personal confidence, something that might be helpful. I was thinking as I'm doing my homework, you know, in class, I was thinking about things that I have, skills that I have, talents that I have that nobody else has. And those are things that separate every single person on this call. And I know several of you are enough about you to know that you have talent I don't have. You have talent I can never possess. Even all the practice in the world is not going to get me to a level that you already have naturally. Everybody has their own set of gifts and their own skill sets, but it doesn't mean we can't add to our toolbox. And there are certain fundamentals, and that's what Jim and I have tapped into. There are certain fundamentals that kind of cross over all of those different skill sets that will help bring it all to fruition, you know, to a higher level, 10x it. Those are the things that we're looking to do here. That's what's going to gain us confidence, and others are going to be confident in what we're doing. So I'm just looking at the playlist here on my screen, all the different people on here. And I'm telling you, you all have skills that I wish I had, you know? So I guess this is part of that syndicate too. We need to be willing to stand alone, but we're not alone. And that's that strength. Know when to ask for help, know when to reach out.
Yeah. I want to encourage everybody as well, as you think about building your confidence in who you are, to add an element of health and fitness to your tool chest. If you don't have that already, add that to your tool chest, because your health and fitness will also help build your confidence, especially when you walk in the room and you're feeling good. You know, outside of shooting my bow and arrow yesterday, because part of my training for Spartan racing, I had to do another 2-hour hike on top of the hour I already spent on the bow and arrow trail. And anyways, if you remember last month, I put it in stone that I was going to race the Spartan race at the end of September. Well, I was still nowhere near where I need to be for that race. And it's interesting because I've got 4 weeks under my belt now, officially as of yesterday. And I was out on the trail, just, you know, feeling good. At least I thought I was. I ran into somebody that I knew. And the first thing he says, "Man, Jim, you're looking good. You're looking healthy," right? All of a sudden I perked up a little bit, like, yeah, okay, maybe I am looking healthy, right? Well, he didn't realize how much I've been struggling the last 4 weeks to get out there and do what I was doing, right? But my confidence was built in. And I got in the car and I look in the mirror, I'm like, wow, I'm all red and sweaty and looking gross. I thought, wow, if to him that's looking healthy, then I'm in pretty good shape. But, you know, kidding aside, it's important for us to add health and fitness as part of our confidence builder as well. It doesn't cost you anything. You can go for a walk, you can go for a run, you can watch what you eat and be careful with what you put in your mouth, because those things will also make you a better person. You'll be able to sleep better at night, be more productive during the day. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention health and fitness as part of a confidence builder. We talked about before kind of appearance and having a self-worth and how you look and present yourself. But I think health and fitness are a part of that. Now, this is kind of the education side of building confidence. The videos will add to that. And I think the last thing is that this is also a circle of friends here that will help build that confidence. And we mentioned it last week that we've been building out the directory in the back end of the Y.E.S Syndicate. If you volunteered to have your name and information on there, I hope you equally as volunteered to be available for people. Maybe you guys can network together. And I would encourage you to reach out to one another and build this circle of friendship. Everybody here has a goal. That's why you're here. you're willing to put a little pain in. You know, it's Monday night. There's a lot of things I'd rather be doing right now than sitting on a call, although I love this. You know, so we're willing to do the work. So that just means to say that we're all like-minded, and I would encourage you to reach out to one another. So, all right, I'm not seeing any hands go up. We're not just going to go to full hour just to go an hour. Rod, do you want to talk about what your topics are next week or in 2 weeks?
Yes, actually, thanks for bringing that up. Next week is the 4th of July. So don't just take the night off from this, celebrate our country's birth and freedom. But the next week I will be on, and our core area is train. And I'm taking a different tactic with where I left off last time with decision-making and accountability. We are talking about accountability, and that it's something you do for yourself, for your kids, for your staff, not to them. And I already started working on that today. So we're going to have some fun with that. Again, do the homework that Jim asked you to do, and we will see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'll wrap this thing up as I don't see any questions flying through, which is fine. You've got homework, so make sure you do your work. I saw Raquel said she's going to get after it this week. I hope you all get after it this week, because these are the things that are going to make a difference in your life. And you will see as all this comes together for you, as you get down the road, even the material that's there now will make you not only a better person, a better entrepreneur, a better employee, a better spouse, a better child, whatever that might be. So do the homework and pay attention to what we're talking about. It's important. And we're grateful for everybody that's in this group talking about gratitude. Thank you for giving us your time tonight. In probably 2 weeks, maybe sooner, we've got something neat coming out. There'll be some value to some of our members that I'm going to be happy to share, or Rod, depending on where the timing falls. And we're personally striving to make the Y.E.S Syndicate better each month or as often as possible. And I don't think that we're ever going to max out, to steal a tagline from Ed Milet. And since I'm quoting him, one of the things that I love about Ed is he talks about the power of one more. And I'm going to leave that in closing is Ed's pitch is you can always do one more, right? So with that being said, do your homework, do one more, find one more question or one more thing that you're good at. If you're going to work out, do one more in your workout, walk another mile or another minute or another 10 minutes, but don't be afraid to do one more. So thank you everybody for tuning in. As you know, Rod and I are here for you if you need us. I know on my calendar, I've got a couple of interviews with a few of you, and Brendan, we'll celebrate with you. I know you're up in Canada, but you're always welcome down here if you need a place to go. So anyways, thank you to all the members. Talk to you soon.